Okay, test, test, test. All right, looks like we've got sound again. So hello YouTube, this is just me. I'm going to do a quick breakdown of this build that I used, and then I'm going to post it. So what we got here, this is the Feydark Swordhand, which is just a fancy way of saying I've got a purple dragon knight with a charisma build. Here's what my stat sheet looks like. I apologize if this looks a little small. So I got 37 strength. I've got 33 dex. I've got 44 con. I've got 28 intelligence. I've got 26 wisdom, and I've got 48 charisma. So obviously, somebody who knows what they're doing better than I do could probably get those numbers up a lot higher. And for equipment, this is what I'm using. Right now, I'm at level cap. So I'm still wearing my crown of butterflies. This is still probably the best item in the game, for melee at least. I am wearing a full Saltmarsh Explorer set, so that's plus 20% artifact bonus to physical and magical resistance rating, plus 10 melee ranged and universal spell power, plus 2 artifact bonus to ability scores, plus 20 artifact bonus to positive, negative, and repair amplification. So that means I've got my Epic Lizard Folk necklace. Still using my symbol of the Slave Lords. You can swap this out if you want, but really so much better than that in the slot, so I just took it. Epic Sailcloth Cloak. Bronze Dragon Scale Belt. I could have swapped this out for the Epic one. Celestial Topaz Ring. Charisma Parrying Blurry. Pretty good, doesn't matter. Hammer Fist. My Epic Crocodile Skin Boots. My Celestial Ring, which is stunning accuracy and ghostly, with a slotted diamond of dexterity. My Epic Driftwood Bracelets for, except for Wisdom, Healing, Lore, Devotion, Wizardry. This powers up my Renew and also completes my set. And then the Epic Salt Iron Plate, which is Fortification 111, Sheltering 24, Protection 8, Shield bonus 9 with this Sapphire Resistance plus 8. And this has served me faithfully. And perhaps the key item here is the Paramnesial Lenses. Now, there's a legendary version of this. I don't have it. Excuse me. But if you do, this is how you make it work. It's illusion focus, quality intelligence, and true seeing. I started with blindness immunity because why not? So the real way you make this work, and it breaks down really easy. The first thing you need to get is you need to get yourself. Let's see if I can find it. I'm not sure what it counts as. Casting feat, maybe? Yes. You need to get this. This is your first feat that you take. It is magical training. Increases your maximum spell points by 80, increases your spell critical chance by 5%, and grants echoes of power if you drop below 12 spell points. Okay. That is how you get in. Excuse me, I'll put that over here so it's out of the way of the Twitter logo. And then that gets you into the Feydark tree. And why do you want to be in the Feydark tree? Well, I'll tell you why. First off, you get to have a pet fox. That's awesome. And then it says, some children familiar with fox, assist you in magical endeavors. For each core ability spent in this tree, including this one, your familiar grants you plus 5 force and plus 5 universal spell power. Kind of useless, but the universal spell power will buff your healing later. Charisma, and what you're really trying to get to is this, greater color spray. And the reason you want greater color spray is it is the DC of 17 plus the highest of Int, Wiz, or Cha, and we're using Cha, plus your illusion bonuses. So that's where, excuse me, these come in. The Paramnesial Lenses. So that's the idea, is that you use these to buff your illusion DCs, and then you use this as your means of crowd control. And the fun thing about it is that it forces them to make a will saver be dazed, blinded, and or silenced. That works on an astonishing number of things. You would be amazed at the number of things specifically that get blinded. So it is an incredibly strong crowd control option. Now, in addition to this being an amazing crowd control option, you also get this Familiar's Flourish. With your familiar by your side, you may use Charisma as your weapon's hit modifier. Okay, that's pretty cool. Again, you get that in Cormyrean Knight's training, which allows you to use Charisma or Strength, whichever is higher, for attack with short swords, long swords, bastard swords, and great swords. Now, this will allow you to take Familiar's Flourish 2, which while you're familiar by your side, you make use of your charisma for your weapon's damage modifier. So in other words, these two will allow you to use any weapon with your charisma mod, which is amazing. This was only with swords, and this is any weapon. Now, there's a reason why you're going to want to probably stick with great swords, and that is because in addition, as long as your charisma modifier remains higher than your strength and you're wielding one of the above weapons, you receive a bonus to the DCs of your tactical feats equal to a third of your charisma modifier. So right now our charisma modifier is 19, so let's call that 18. That means that's +6 to all of our things, in addition to the +13 that we're getting from our strength. So that's a fairly good, +20 is a pretty good mod. That would mean we would need to have, I don't even know what kind of strength score you would need to have to get it up to that high, but it would be a lot. 50 or better. Anyway, so that helps. If you can get these things up even higher, then so much the better. So once you've got that, then we backfill it a little bit. Now you don't have to do anything other than these, but there's a couple of good reasons why I didn't do that. I did take Study the Arcane, get some more spell points. Illusory Weaponry. Now, at first this seems like this is a bad idea because you're not getting bonuses with it, especially if you're not planning on like dual wielding short swords or something. But the proof is in the details. Counter physical shadow blades. Enchanting your weapons to become shadow blades will change their material type to force and grant the item additional bonuses. This is considered an enchantment. So as soon as I do this, it says imbued by shadow. This weapon has been imbued by shadowy illusions and as such is considered an implement and gets an additional +1 enhancement bonus. So now it's a +20 or whatever spellcasting implement, which immediately improves my spellcasting ability, which in turn increases my ability to heal. In addition, you can't really see it because it's very small on the screen, but it changes the type to force. Because it's changed to force, it means that this weapon can be used on anything and not take weapon damage. So unless you die, you don't take any kind of damage, which is pretty impressive. So again, that was kind of a sleeper that you don't really notice, but now you can beat up on all the slimes and rust monsters you want as long as your weapon is imbued and it never takes damage, and that's pretty handy. And then it's got, you've got my back. Your familiar drops ambient and offensive magics to it, protecting you from magic missiles as if you had the benefits of the shield spell. In addition, the shield spell now grants you +10 physical resistance rating, and the night shield spell now grants you, grants you +10 magical resistance rating. So I actually didn't ever test that out. I'm assuming that works if you use a wand, but you know, perhaps. So again, my physical resistance, you know, not terrible, 182 and then 101 for magical resistance rating. So it works out pretty well. Now the rest of it, so that was the crux of it, and really what you're looking for, and this, by the way, is Bend Light. Studies the illusion school of manifested to protect you, making you slightly harder to see. You gain the benefits of the blur spell. So I have permanent blur. So like always on blur, can't be dispelled as long as I have my familiar out. So that's handy. So this is what I kind of broke it down. So that's like 17 points worth in there. You could skip some of this stuff. Like, I mean, permanent blur. Okay, well, you get items with permanent blur. The magic missile, again, you could probably UMD shield spells or wands or whatever to give you magic missile and night shield. I preferred to just have it always on, just always on. And that is a huge benefit. You'd be amazed at how often you hear that obnoxiously loud Feydark shield explode because things are, you know, just pumping you full of magic missiles. So that's, to me, was worth having this up. So that's the crux of this whole thing, is to get charisma to hit and damage, color spray, always on, always on shield spell. The rest of this is fairly straightforward Kensei stuff. So all the way up, taking heavy blades, didn't bother with exotic blades because who cares? Haste boost, best action boost in the game. Agility, concentration, reflex saves. I always take the reflex saves. Your mileage may vary. But again, that's shattering strike, strike at the heart, opportunity attack, all of the weapon enhancements all the way up, which is a huge amount of damage. If you have half orc, it's even more. And then you can go a good death, which is amazing. Weapon master, one with the blade, deadly strike. So you just basically go all across the top and then all the cores. So this is very standard, extremely standard. So I took 2 action boosts. These are really expensive in the Kensei tree for some reason. I don't know why. And then 1 boost of tactics just to kind of make the break points. but everything else is just all along the bottom. And over here in the racial tree, I did have 4 racial AP to spend. Excuse me. So there's 4 AP, so there's 1, I believe this is 2 and 3, and then 4 and 5, and then 6 and 7. So I spent 3 points in this tree and in some configuration, but basically that's all it is. It's just healing amplification, the Cormyrean Knight training, and then the Great Weapon Aptitude, simply because that gives me more strike through. Not a significant amount. And then saves boost for those rare moments when I'm not attacking anything, but I really want saves. So I just take that instead. And the last of it goes into the Stalwart Defender tree. Stalwart Defense is just great to have. This is armor class and maximum dexterity bonus, which is great. And then I take +3 combat bonus to all my saving throws. And then this is while wielding meteor or heavy armor and a shield to get +20 confidence bonus to maximum hit points. So while wearing medium armor or heavy armor and wearing or wielding a shield. So any of those things will qualify. If I'm using a shield, if I'm wearing heavy or medium armor, it will give me this. And I found out that this does not stack with epic defensive fighting. So if you take this, then you don't need to ever turn on epic defensive fighting, which is fine. Which is actually in a way good, because then it allows you to throw your renews around quite a bit better. Shield expertise means nothing, but shields and weapons you equip gain +2 to their enhancement bonus. So I took this just because I had to get to the break points. But what I'm really after, and again, this armor gains +3 to its enhancements bonus. So again, this is all pretty cool. What I'm really after is this, which is Stalwart Defense grants a 10% action boost to your movement speed. So that is a permanent 10% boost to my speed. So now I run as fast as a barbarian. And that's amazing. So that was where the 21 points came in here. So that is pretty much that. As you can see at the end here, even without base stuff, I've got 101 armor class, 182 resistance, and 101 magic resistance rating. And I will show you, just for the benefit of this, so that this doesn't get too long, since we're at like 12 minutes already. And I realized the last one was like 40 minutes. Let's see. Character. Ooh, that was the character. Go Feats. Eyes of the Reaper, obviously. I'll go and buy another set of those, because that's how you clear money. Legendary feats, I took Scion of Arborea, +20 melee and range power, +20 force, and universal spell power. Force means nothing, but the universal spell power does. Enhancement bonus to your weapon, and +4 to 40 saves. I'll take it. Blinding speed, because literally couldn't think of anything else to do with it. It is a slightly bit faster. It's 32% movement as opposed to 30, so it's 2% faster. So I'm now running at 42%. And the rest of it, and then it's just enhancement bonus to attack rolls, dodge, +1 dodge and +1 reflex. So I'll take it. It's not perfect, but good enough. These are my destinies. I have double strike, first blood, perfect two-handed fighting, took epic damage reduction. There's the epic defensive fighting that we're never going to use. Overwhelming critical. And somewhere in here is, I'm not sure where I got Die Hard. I think it's perhaps it's in one of my epic destinies. And then Force of Personality. So that gives me a bonus to my will saves based on my charisma. So what I take for my martial feats: Cleave, Great Cleave, improve critical slashing, power attack, power critical, were the feats I took. And then of course the obligatory fighter feats. So weapon focus slashing. And then there will be, I'm not sure if there's a fighter-specific feats. Yeah. So we've got the fighter-specific feats, greater weapon focus, and then greater weapon specialization, and then weapon specialization would be in there somewhere. Not sure why it's not included here. Yeah, there's weapon specialization. Heavy armor champion, +12 physical resistance. Heavy armor combatant, +6, and then +9. So I'm not sure what that all adds up to. So 12 and 6 is 18. 27 additional thing. Tactical Master gives me +6 to things. Tactical Supremacy +8, so that's +14. And then Weapon Specialization. Weapon Specialization gives you the damage bonus. Okay, that's the trick, is that the specialization is giving you the damage bonus. The focus is giving you the hit bonus. So you've got a lot of hit and damage. And of course I got Lay on Hands, but that's coming out of my destinies. So let's see if I can just run over there real fast and show you what I did. So again, here are my epic destinies. Probably looks a little bit odd. All right, let's move that down just a tiny bit. see if I can move this down a little bit so it's not under the beast thing. You can maybe get a look at it. If you can't read the things, that's fine, but you get an idea of the position of these things. So if you want to just kind of take a look at it. So Fearless, immune to fear. So I'm sorry, I should say this is Legendary Dreadnought, and then Unyielding Sentinel. I did have some points in Divine Crusader. Ultimately, I just pulled them out simply because that way it gave me enough points to go right across the top here. So all 3 cores in Legendary Dreadnought. So Fearless, Weapon Master, +2 attack damage with all weapons, and then +15 physical resistance rating. Push through the line, activating action boost grants a +3 to all ability scores for the duration of that action boost. Always take this. This is great because you're going to be continually action boosting as a fighter. If you don't know that already, learn from my mistakes. If you're not action boosting, you're not trying. Okay, then we go Dire Charge, obviously. Dread Mantle, you want to have this up most of the time. I do have the alternate Dread Mantle or the Epic Destiny Mantle, but I was running in this 90% of the time. 30 maximum hit points from Shrug Off Punishment. Combat Brute, while you're Dread Mantle, your weapons gain 1 die of weapon. Action Boost per rest, I just took one of those because I was looking to make save points and go to the break point. Strike twice, +% 6% double strike. Momentum Swing, when you use your Dire Charge or Dire Shot, enemies must now make a Fortitude save or be tripped. This is amazing. They get tripped all the time. Epic Power Precision, while you have Power Attack active, you gain +6 critical hit damage before weapon multiplier. So that's basically one of these gives you confirmation, and the other one gives you power. I was always in Power Attack, so I got +6 to the damage. Lay Waste, when you use your Dire Attack, enemies must now make a Fortitude save or be stunned. Again, this works all the time because you should always be Dire Charging whenever it's off cooldown. Your weapon attacks against creatures that are afraid, shaken, or have +5 stacks of terror at 1 stack of vulnerability. Now, if you're wondering what's going on, if you read the Dread Mantle, it is your weapon attacks deal 1 stack of terror, 0.1 second cooldown. So every 10th of a second, I guess, they can stack this. And that's -1 melee and range power, -3 spell power, and -1 AC, and it stacks up to 15 times. And you're thinking, well, that's okay, I guess, but it's not all that hot until you get up here and you're like every time, and you're constantly stacking it up. So this is your boss killer. So in like 1 second, you will have immediately stacked up tons and tons of terror stacks. And then as soon as that happens, then they immediately start stacking vulnerability, which I believe stacks like 20 times. So that's a huge boost to DPS especially for bosses. While my Epic Destiny Mantle, you deal +15% damage to helpless opponents. And action boost is active, you have displacement. Again, you're action boosting all the time, so that's amazing. And finally, when you get to level cap, you have Lacerator. When using a slashing weapon in your main hand, you gain +1 critical multiplier on rolls 19 to 20. Legendary Rally, lash out with your force of will, +5 weapon cleave attack. Your attack is considered an automatic critical, has +2 multiplier. Can be used while crowd control, bears all crowd control effects when used. Okay, so that's pretty amazing as well. I should probably shuffle some of these things around, which I did not. It's a little bit late. I'm just going to TR after I'm done with all this, but principle of the thing, right? Best practices and all that. So where's that? Legendary Rally. Yeah, there we go. So that should have been on the barn. I don't know why I didn't do that. All right, so we can go over here, and this is Sundering Swings. Creatures affected by your improved trip are also made helpless. So once I've knocked them down, I can start beating them up with this, and they get full helpless bonuses, supersedes improved trip effect. Creatures affected by improved Sunder take 75% fortification instead of the normal -25. So it's reducing their fortification. You're getting more additional helpless bonus. Dusk Surge, while in your Dreadnought Destiny Mantle, hitting enemies with your weapons has a chance to regenerate an action boost charge. So this does not stack with other abilities that regenerate action boost. So anytime I start smacking people, I have a chance to start regenerating my action boosts. And of course, you always want to be action boosting whenever possible. Action Hero, this is just nonsense. For 40 seconds, you gain the following bonuses. This ability is an action boost and triggers everything in a normal action boost triggers for the duration. This ability has a 5-minute cooldown, which is not shared with other action boosts. Okay, so whatever. It's like +H action boost to attack, +30 action boost to melee and range power, +30 action boost to attack speed, +30 action boost to double strike, +50% action boost to movement speed, +15 action boost to AC and PRR, +15% action boost to dodge, +9 action boost to sunder, trip, and stun DCs, +6 action boost to saving throws, +6 action boost to all skills. redonkulous. So that's a very good thing. So that's basically how that taps out. And then the last of it is just to shore up the defense a little bit. So over here we take Ever Watchful, again the Die Hard feat, so that's where that came from. Each core in this ability grants you plus 35 HP, plus 20 spell points, and plus 5 melee power. Again, you can go across just for the, it's worth it just for the hit points, but whatever. Divine Energy Resistance, you want this. You want this so bad, you don't even know how bad you want this. Get this, because this saves up a lot of your grief that you would otherwise have trying to come up with with some way to resist energy, which you can't as a fighter, because fighter is the worst class in the game. Plus 3 to attack, plus 3 if you're using combat expertise. This bonus is doubled. You're never using combat expertise, but you know, whatever. 3 ranks in this, brace for impact, plus 50% fortification, and plus 1 to all saves. And this is really what you're after, which is renewal. This is your heals, D2 points every 2 character levels you have for 2 seconds, for 8 seconds. So it gives you 4 ticks at D2 times your level. It's not super great, but it's not terrible either. Now, had I reworked this build and got in, found a way to work in, say, Empower Healing, that might have been something, but for whatever reason, I couldn't do that. I could take, for whatever reason, I could take Intensify or Embolden, but I couldn't take Empower Healing, and at that point, it didn't really matter. I did take Mantle of the Sentinel. This is actually not bad, because that allows me to get this, which is Rule of Law, and that is just pulsing out d6 damage per character level, and that scales with my melee 200% melee power, which is pretty awesome. So you can put that up if you're looking for like a little more passive DPS and an AoE. It has its uses. I didn't do a lot with it, but it was kind of neat. Problem with that I found is that it just has such a super long cooldown. It's every 8 seconds, and that's just way too long. It should be 4 or 6 in my opinion. 6 at the latest. Into the Fray is pretty cool. I only got 2 ranks of this because I ran out of points. But when you first strike a foe with melee combat, you get plus 4 damage, plus 15 physical resistance rating, and plus 15 magical resistance for 5 seconds. Then I have to be out of combat for at least 10 seconds for that to happen. And if I go to the last stage, it gives me plus 6, plus 25, and plus 25. So that's pretty cool when you charge right in. You're a little tankier. And then, of course, you get Hands of the Sentinel, which is Lay on Hands. Now, if I'd been so inclined, I could have maybe shaved off some points somewhere in here to get up and get the Endless Lay on Hands, or Endless Vigil, I guess is what they call it now. But for now, we'll just assume that that's not going to happen. So that is pretty much it. It was a fun build. It worked a whole lot better than I thought. Basic strategy: you run in, you spray everything with a color spray, and then you just go to town as everything's blinded or tripped or stunned. Pretty straightforward stuff. It works great. You're protected from magic missiles. You have high charisma, which allows you to fully exploit your UMD. My skills were really super straightforward. It was just intimidate and jump and UMD, basically. If you've got the points for everything else, fill your boots. You know, do it as you see fit, but those were what I took. And yeah, it was a pretty good time. I was actually quite surprised, because even with suboptimal equipment, it still worked all the way to endgame. So I was really thrilled with that. And that was running Reaper. Now, was I running high-end Reaper? No, I was not. Would I do that? I would probably not recommend that unless you have really maximized gear. Because again, I just didn't have it. I have yet to, I'm still trying to find the Borderlands Charisma Ring, and it has evaded me still. But until such time, yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up. So I'm going to leave it here, and then I will splice together some sexy, you know, in-game footage of me running around beating stuff up with my color spray, and I'll leave it to you. And until then, I hope you have a fantastic evening or day wherever you are, and are safe. So take care, and I'll see you again soon. All right.